First up in the hot seat alongside me is a man whose name comes steeped with history, but it is spelt slightly differently. He's had a great season so far. It is Cieren Fallon, young Cieren Fallon. I was going to say Cieren Fallon Jr, which is what you call yourself on Twitter, but then that feels not quite right because, of course, your first names are spelt differently.
Yeah, no, look, I put it on Twitter just so it covers all aspects, you know, so no one gets confused and that, so it's just a little thing, isn't it, you know.
And just to confirm, Kieren Sr is in the building. He very kindly drove you in this morning. He drove you to Haydock. He's putting in the hard yards with you, isn't he? Yeah,
look, he probably thought all the driving was over, but no, he looks after me well, you know. He takes me to most meetings I ride at, helps me with all the tracks. If it's my first time riding at a track, he'll definitely come and walk the track with me, you know, and we'll look at the races and we'll see what the best thing is to do. Obviously, you've got to listen to the instructions, what the trainer gives you, but then, obviously, my dad will give me a little advice and tips about how to ride the track, and you know, it's paid off so far.
I had a chat with him at Haydock about just that, actually, when I was going to... This was back on Thursday, and I said, yeah, it'd be great to get Kieren on the show. Is it something you think he'd want to do if I go and have a chat with him? He was like, yeah, he loves it. I wouldn't have done. He loves it. But you do seem to be open to doing this sort of thing, perhaps more so than plenty in the press would have expected your dad to, for example. Yeah,
no, obviously the first few times I was a bit nervous and I was a bit like, but now I'm just getting used to it and I do enjoy it, and it's good for the sport, it's good for young jockeys and especially apprentices, you know, just to get themselves out there a bit more, and I think it's very good to, you know, get yourself, you know, seen and shown on the racing stage, and I think that it's paying off for me a bit at the minute, so hopefully it can carry on.
Well, it's paying off for you as well because you're riding so well, and you and Sean, we like to overplay these things in the press, don't we? But it adds a bit of spice to the season. We've got a very good outright Jockeys Championship at the moment, and we've got a good Apprentice Jockey Championship between you and Sean as well. I think we'll come to that, but just take me back, if you can, Kieren, for you, because there was a recent Racing Post article which was very informative about you. And I think one of the main things I was surprised to read about that was when you actually first got on a thoroughbred racehorse, because you'd half expect, given your background, that you've been riding horses since you could walk, but that's not been the case.
No, obviously my mum and dad split up when I was younger, so that brought me up to Wigan with my mother, and there's nothing about horses up there at all, so I was kind of away, but then obviously I'd watch my dad on TV, and then eventually one day I woke up one Sunday morning and I just rang my dad to say, look, I want to be a jockey. So then I come down to Newmarket.
What was the response to that?
He kind of just laughed. He was kind of in shock, really, because he didn't really expect it. But I think it was it was a relief kind of thing as well, you know, because I think he always wanted me to be a jockey, but he never forced it upon me or ever speak to me about it. So, you know, I gave him a call and I come down and I sat on, I don't know what type of horse it was, but it wasn't a thoroughbred or anything. It was one of Adam Kirby's, and, you know, after that I went to the racing school, and then I went into William Haggis's about just over two and a half years ago now, I think. And then I was sat on the hack for the first few weeks, and then eventually put me on a racehorse, and, you know, he looked after me really well, and he started me off easy, put me on nice easy rides, and then just slowly progressed me onto the more difficult ones, and then started putting me on gallopers.
This is William Haggis?
Yeah. Everything I've done, I've come out of the race school, it's all been with Mr Haggis, you know. He's looked after me so well, and I can't thank him enough for everything he's done for me, you know, these 3 years. He's the one who's actually got me to the stage I'm at now. He's got me to, you know, gaining confidence, because I think it's a confidence thing as well. And I think if you start off and you're falling off, I think you get knocked and you don't really want to do it. But he looked after me and put me on the nicer horses, and then he just progressed me through there. I
mean, there must be some serious natural ability there, and obviously I suppose that there would be, but natural horsemanship to be able to, in 3 years, really, from going to the racing school to riding in a yard like William Haggis's to now challenging for an apprentice title. You know, there must be an element of I'm sure you've worked incredibly hard and put everything you can into it, but you must have felt a natural sort of connection with the horse initially, no?
Yeah, it's funny because, like, I don't know, when I sit on a horse, I just find myself comfortable, and I don't get a feeling I do when I sit on a horse. Like when I used to play football and rugby, I used to get such an adrenaline, and I did love it, but not a feeling I get when I sit on a horse. I don't know, it's strange, but I get some good connection, good feeling, and I feel I can you know, understand the horse. You know, I think that'd be the main thing, you know, getting a good connection with the horse for the 30 seconds you have before you actually race ride. And I think if you know, build that little bit of a relationship and connection with the horse before the race, I think that, you know, you can just get a little bit more out of them.
As a 16-year-old guy, when horse racing wasn't... How old are you now, Kieran?
20.
So just before perhaps you make that decision that you want to go and be a jockey, what were the other options? You're quite a keen sportsman, you're quite a good sportsman?
Yeah, look, everything I've been doing has all been sport. I've never been academically good or anything like that. So, you know, I played football academies, and I went to college, and, you know, I used to run for North Wales, and, you know, it was always something to do with sport. I knew I was going to go down the sporting route, but I didn't know quite what I wanted to do yet. And then, you know, I was lucky to be able to get into the racing school and, you know, progress through that way, and we're here today.
Did you feel a bit of pressure at the racing school? Because I can imagine lots of people your age are in there, but perhaps with your name, I'm sure, comes a little bit of pressure, a little bit of added weight on your shoulders. Perhaps, whether you feel it or not, I don't know. But people looking at you going, well, he has to be good because... Did you feel that, perhaps, even though you were in the same boat as many of them, and you had to say, look, I've not been around horses. This is as new for me as it is for you? No,
I think because when I wasn't in the racing, you know, world type of thing, I was just an outsider, and I didn't actually realise how good my dad was because I was just watching the racing as it was, and I know he rode a few winners and that, but I didn't see him.
Yeah.
I didn't see him as good as he was. So when I went to the racing school, I just known him as another jockey. So to me, I didn't feel like there was any pressure because I didn't know how good he actually was. But now, obviously, understanding it all and knowing what he's achieved, I do understand how good he actually was, but I still don't find any pressure because, like I said before, when I sit on the horse, I just connect with the horse. It's just me and the horse, and I just get on with my job. So
is it something you've now got pleasure in, Kieran, going back and actually looking at what your dad did and what he achieved in the saddle? And I suppose with a different perspective of it, you can actually go back and watch and perhaps learn and understand exactly what he was doing at a certain time. Yeah, definitely. I must have watched all these rides on YouTube 1,000 times, you know, especially at Epsom. The first ever time I rode at Epsom, I must have watched that clip non-stop from when I left home to the track, you know, and I get some buzz just watching it because when I finally rode at Epsom, I could actually understand the buzz coming down. Which one what we're talking here? Chris Kin or? Yeah, Chris Kin in the Derby, and just as soon as when I rode a winner, I got my two phones and I kind of watched and tried to, you know, see the similarities, but no, it's some feeling there. If you allow yourself to think ahead, I don't know if you do because it's all come around quite quickly for you, but, you know, do you have aspirations of going on and, you know, obviously the Apprentice Championship is this year, but then you really want to be champion jockey and those sort of things in your mind, or are you just taking it a day as it comes or a year as it comes and still sort of finding your feet in the industry? Yeah, look, I think, you know, in the position I am in now, I don't see why I can't go and, you know, try and be champion apprentice, but from when I first started off, I spoke to my boss and my agent, and, you know, the year was to try and ride all the racetracks, learn all the racetracks, and ride for all the different trainers, meet owners, and just build on connections, you know, for the following years in the future, because I feel like it's all good going for champion apprentice, but this is my first season riding, and you only get a claim once, so we wanted to look after the claim, learn all the tracks, get connections, and then, you know, for next year, then you can kind of see where you're at, and but no, we're in a position where I've ridden for a lot of trainers, owners, built a lot of connections, and you know, I've rode a few winners this season, and hopefully it continues. At what point this season did the Apprentice title become a sort of realistic possibility? Because I think it's fair to say that you and Sean it's been a different start to the season for you. There was a lot of talk at the start of the season about Sean being a likely winner of the Apprentice title, and perhaps it wasn't, having only ridden a few winners for you coming into this year, on your agenda as much as it was for him, but it seems to have developed quite quickly. At what point did it become perhaps a decision where you and your agent sat down and said, look, maybe we should make a go at this? Yeah, I think it was last month, you know, I had a real good month. I rode 16 winners, you know, I had a treble, a few doubles, and then it just put me just one behind him, and we kind of had a look at things, you know, and seeing how close we actually was. So, you know, we spoke to Mr. Haggis and, you know, my agent, and we kind of just discussed things and just said, look, we'll take it as it comes, and, you know, we won't change anything, and if I am, then it's a bonus, you know. What's been the highlight this season for you so far, Kieran? I think riding at Glorious Goodwood, you know, especially riding a winner there, you know, that has been a real highlight for me this year. For Saeed? Yeah, Saeed, and obviously riding at Royal Ascot,
on Raucous, and then again at Glorious Goodwin on Raucous again, finishing third. He's been a real good horse to me this year.
It was the last race of the Qatar Festival you won, wasn't it?
Yeah.
For Saeed. What's that? I mean, is that another pinch yourself moment where you go, God, how's this season? Here I am at Glorious Goodwood riding a winner. Was again at the start of this season, could you have ever felt that was likely on your agenda?
No, definitely not. I was very lucky to get the ride. And it's all coming quite quick. But I'm taking everything in, and we're learning, and that's the main thing. And hopefully we can keep getting these rides, and long may it continue.
Did you expect to win?
It was a hard one. There was a lot of good horses in it, and apprentice races, they're always quite a bit messy with big fields like that, and it's not. I wouldn't say it's the easiest track to ride, and we were slow away, and it put me into a position where I didn't really want to be, but I was kind of happy when they went off at such a good gallop. I kind of sat in and got the horse to relax and find his stride, and when we come down that hill, I could see the horses. I knew they were going quite quick because I went to Australia, I learnt my times, and I knew I was comfortable, and my horse was comfortable in the way that he was travelling, and I just let him free roll down the hill, and I just picked him up, and he went away, and he won the race pretty well.
There was no fist pumping, no arm waving or anything at the end. It was quite cool and calm and collected at the end.
Yeah, no, just pat the horse. It's just one of them. I don't know. I don't.
You don't give it large when you cross the line.
Definitely not. No, look, my dad never did it either, so I wouldn't say it's a bad thing.
Have you? I mean, just talking to you out there, we were talking about the Arlington Million and about Magic Wand, who finished second in there, and you were there. You were saying, well, she won this, she won that, and I was thinking, oh, that's right, But your knowledge seems to be, I suppose, something you've amassed in quite recently, because, as you say, growing up as a teenager, perhaps it wasn't massively on your agenda. I mean, have you almost become a horse racing bookworm in the last few years and just got stuck into form, or was it something you were following on and off throughout your teenage years? Yeah,
no, look, I never looked into it at all, but obviously when you come in, and I'm an apprentice now, I have to, know my form, and I don't just sit there and read a book and just study it all. I study my form, races, and then I'll just take little bits and pieces, and obviously you watch all the big races, and that's where you start learning your form, and the breeding just comes, and I think it'll come in time. We're slowly learning. Obviously I've got my dad to help me, and I'm just trying to picking up little things and bobs, and hopefully we can start putting the finger on everything and getting a lot of things right.
Speaking to Kieran Senior, if you like, at Haydock, and he did make that point to me, saying that he wouldn't ever go and tell you exactly what to do, but when it comes to the different tracks, that it's important for you to be aware of where you might want to be and how to ride them. So is there a limit of exactly what he'll pass on, if you like, because he wants to let you find your feet in your own way? Yeah,
he knows as well you've got to do what the trainer asks you to do, and obviously if you ride a horse that has to be held up and it's a front running track, you have to do that. But he'll just tell me for future references, and he'll just tell me the best way to ride the tracks, and he'll tell me if there's any undulations or where you want to be holding, kicking, sitting, if you want to be following a horse or not. So I think it all depends on the day and how the race looks on paper, but it doesn't always unfold on paper, and he knows that, so he never, tells me exactly what to do. He'll just give me pointers, because if you think that the horse is going to make the run in, and you think it's going to be going a good strong gallop, and it misses the break and it doesn't pan out like that, so there's lots of different things you need to take in consideration when you do get told instructions. So he just gives me pointers about the track, and then he lets the trainer give me the instructions, and I'll do my best to ride to the instructions I get given. And for all your fundamental similarities, there are, I think everyone will appreciate, and it came across in the Post article as well, fundamental differences between the two of you in perhaps the young versions of yourself, and the troubles which your dad was open about in his book. I don't want him, he's next door, I don't want him to come in and hurl something at me, but the difficulties that I think he faced on many aspects, perhaps away from the saddle, however brilliant he was in it, and you yourself, are you aware of that? Is that something you almost want to avoid going through your career, and you want to stay healthy, and I don't know if there's a party element to what you do, but go perhaps a different way, given what your dad experienced, perhaps the harsh realities of horse racing? Yeah, no, look, I've understood, and I've seen, and I've been told of all what's been happened, and I've been very lucky to be brought up with such a good family I have, and I've been kept away from it all. But look, I don't drink, I don't go out. I'm a family guy. You know, if I've got any spare time, I'll spend it with the family. I was in college and I studied personal training and gym instructions. So I'm quite a gym freak, fitness freak, you know. So I've kept away from all the bad side of things, and when I do get the time off, I'm with my family or I'm in the gym. So I think being brought up in Wigan and being around the family I do have has kept me away from all of that. And I think I'm very lucky, and I think I've got a good base surrounding me, so I won't go down that route.
Do you drink?
No,
you don't?
Never drink. Not even when I was younger, growing up in Wigan, I'd never drink.
So, I mean, now, you know, you move to Newmarket, the lads maybe go down one of the pubs, but if you go with them, I mean, you're a teetotaler.
I won't go with them. I don't go to the pubs or anything like that. I just stay away completely.
And, I mean, is that because of you're aware of things growing up that other family members had experienced, or is that just something, do you think, in the time that you've grown up in, as somebody that did a personal training course and as somebody that was, you know, going to the gym and keeping very healthy, do you think you just fell into that because of that route you went down and the times we're in now, where perhaps alcohol is seen as a bit more of a vice than it was?
Yeah, I think so, but more so is if I have got time to do other things like that, I wouldn't go to the pub because it's not for me. I'd rather spend that time that I've got going playing golf with my dad, or spending time with my family, or going to the gym, you know. So I think it's just more of a mental thing, and you know, I can't see myself in that route because, you know, you don't have much time with your family. So I like to cherish the time I do have with my family. So if I've got spare time, it'll be with my family, or it'll be in the gym, or it'll be on the golf course with my dad, you know.
Who wins when you play golf with your dad?
Oh,
he's not still playing off 16, is he?
14.
Still.
Bandit. But no, look, sometimes I win, sometimes I lose, but it's one of them, isn't it?
And I suppose, as far as your mum, what was it like when you talk about calling your dad about wanting to go and be a rider 3.5 years ago, whatever it was? What was it like from mum's point of view? Because of course, she, you credit her with keeping you on the straight and narrow and the fantastic upbringing you had. You know, was it ever something that you think she thought, well, is that really the route you want to go down?
No, look, it was a shock to her when I told her, and she didn't want me to become a jockey. But you know, she's respected my decision, and you know, she's very supportive and caring, and she does her best for me as well. She looks after me pretty well, and you know, I can't thank her enough for, like you said, the upbringing, and to where I am now. She still does a good job, you know, managing me and looking after me well and making sure I'm on the straight and narrow. What
was it like for somebody, you know, from where you grew up, away from the sport, to go into Newmarket? Because it is, you know, it is an all-encompassing horse racing town, is it? Was it a bit of a culture shock for you?
Yeah, look, it's a bit of a shock, but you know, for me, it's just I just get on the same road every morning, you know, that down to the yard, back again, back to the races. So I'm kind of just a little bit outside of the town, you know. I'm not too involved with it because I've heard stories and I just try and keep away, you know. So I just go to the yard, go home, go to the gym, go home, go to the races, go home, you know. So I kind of keep away out of town. But you know, it is a very, very good town for the horse racing side. You know, you've got unbelievable trainers. You have got really good people there as well. Don't get me wrong. But you know, I just tend to keep myself to myself. I'm just me and my family, and that's kind of all it is, really.
And weight-wise, you've never. I don't know if now you're lighter than when you were playing all the other sports. I suppose you'd have to be a little bit. Is that something you had to set your mind to, or has it not really been an issue for you?
No, yeah. Look, when I started Mr. Agus's, you know, and I realised I was going to get my licence, I went into the weighing room and weighed myself, and I was about 9 stone 6.
Did you have any idea how much you weighed beforehand?
No.
Do you not?
No, it was just a thing, and then obviously I realised the weights, and I went into the weighing room and the valet's weighing me, I was 9 stone 6, and I thought, oh no, I need to proper manage my weight. And you know, I put myself on a diet, and I gave myself a training programme, and I got myself down to about 8 stone. So
gave yourself a training programme?
Yeah.
You didn't have to have any help with that?
No, I did it on myself through obviously the year I was at college. You know, I managed my weight pretty well. I got myself down to 8 stone, and you know, it's a good weight to be at, you know, because you can do the light weights without struggling, and obviously the heavier weights you just use lead and etc.
And what's an average day like for you, regime-wise, now? Beyond you go in, you ride out. Will you gym every day? Yeah,
no. So I'll go into the gym as much as I possibly can, and obviously if I'm riding up north, you say I wouldn't have the time to, and you know, if I don't have the time to, I'll be at home and I'll be doing my obviously press ups, sit ups, etc. But I think that the main thing my dad did, you know, push was fitness. So I think with me being a personal trainer and gym instructor, it's actually helped me a lot, because it is, you've got to be so fit, you know, especially when you're riding a finish. You've got to be so strong to keep a horse straight and, you know, keep them going to the line. I think it's very important.
What was the hardest thing, race riding wise, that you've had to pick up? Because, as we say, it's been a short space of time you've had to learn this. What's the one thing that perhaps you found more challenging than you thought you might?
That's a good question, actually. I've never really thought about that.
You're going to say you found it easy now, aren't you? You're going to get a load of stick for it, but you might have done.
No, look, obviously I'm still learning, you know, and I still do things wrong. And, you know, it's all about learning how the races are run and being in the right position. And I think that you've got to respect your riders around you. I think that's been, you know, one of the main things I've learned over the last few weeks, definitely, especially in the bigger races and the bigger handicaps. You know, you've got to be a bit more careful, you know, and you've got to look after your fellow riders around you. And I think that's one thing that I've started to, you know, learn a lot better now, because obviously earlier on in my career I got done a few times for careless riding because I wasn't aware, you know, but now obviously I've ridden a lot more races, I'm more aware now, and I think that's been the biggest attribute to my riding that I have learned, you know, about the positioning of the races. And
to respect those around you and be careful. For all there's a bravery element, and, you know, bold rides that are great, there are others around you, and essentially, look, it's a dangerous sport you're competing in. Did you ever have a fear aspect you had to deal with?
No. No, I just love going fast and, you know, riding in the finish. I know, I just love it. I get a buzz out of it.
I get the impression, talking to you, that it would be magic if you won the Apprentice title, but it perhaps isn't the be-all and end-all this season, because it wasn't necessarily on the agenda at the start of the season. Is that fair?
Yeah.
Without your agent screaming down and saying, no, we're going to win it. But, you know, it's not perhaps life and death this year to go and win that.
No, it's not. Look, I came into it expecting just try a few winners, you know, and obviously I just wanted to learn my trade. And then you get into a position where I'm in now, and you kind of, not have to, but you just kind of have to keep doing what you're doing because it's working. And if at the end of the season I have the most winners, then like I said before, it is a bonus. But, you know, I just want to keep learning the tracks, meeting new owners, trainers, and building relationships with them. And, you know, the relationship I've built with Mr. Haggis over the last year has definitely got a lot stronger and grown. And, you know, I'm happy where I am at the minute, and hopefully it continues.